Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're going to be talking about communism versus democracy, specifically the Cold War, and we're going to be looking into some propaganda that started around this time. Anyways, let's look at the left here. So underneath this blue shaded area, we have Truman. Harry S. Truman was the US president at the time, and he committed troops to stop communist expansion, especially in Korea, where the first proxy round began. So he fought for South Koreans against the North Koreans, but on his side was the UN nations and US General Douglas MacArthur and the Korean or South Korean president who was fierce anti-communist. So he did not want communism in his country, so that's why he was trying to avoid the North side. So we go to North Korea and we look who's on their side. Well, leader of North Korea is Kim Il-sung at this point. Again, he was the leader of North Korea and he really initiated the main invasion because he wanted communism over the full peninsula. And then China jumped in with Mao Zedong, and as a leader of China, he sent 2 million troops, considered volunteers, but they were troops to come in and knock out all of the resistance against their communist regime. And then we have Joseph Stalin from Russia, so the USSR at this point. So he provided weapons, jet pilots, and a lot of military equipment to really get this resistance out of the Korean Peninsula to make it a full communist area. So those are the sides. We have, again, the South fighting for the South Koreans and the North Koreans at this point. So what makes this propaganda? I have my slogan down here. It says, stand for freedom, fight in Korea. So in this case, this would be presented in the United States. It looks like a boxing match, and it really looks like you need to take out those Koreans. Come on, they're Koreans. Anyway, we gotta knock them out. So America Needs You really pulls you in. It makes you gravitate towards the poster. You want to fight for your country, even though it's not necessarily in your country, but we're gonna help out and help the Koreans, I don't know, maintain a democracy in their peninsula. So that's what proxy is. They're not necessarily fighting in the United States, but they're fighting in another place where the United States is sending aid. So they needed people to help out, and obviously they needed numbers to fight against all of the volunteer troops that were sent from China from Mao Zedong. Anyway, we look at here down below. If you can read it, it says, under the Truman Doctrine, the United States support free people resisting communism or communist expansion. So the Truman Doctrine, if you guys are familiar with, was started in 1947. So it was like a U.S. pledge to provide like political, military, and economic aid to democratic nations that were threatened by communism. So in this case, South Korea was threatened by North Korea, and they needed to be taken care of. So under the Truman Doctrine, the United States jumped in to send them military aid. So that's why this poster is gravitating many troops in the United States to go fight because, again, they needed aid. And below that, it says communism forces the 38th parallel. Freedom is under attack. So another part of the propaganda here, the 38th parallel was the the line that divided North Korea and South Korea. But as the North Koreans aspired to gain more territory and conquer the whole peninsula, they decided to go over that line that split both of them. And again, that led to the main conflict that is the Korean War. So that pretty much goes over the entire poster. Again, we have the south side and the north side, and eventually we didn't really have a winner. You guys still know that there's a North and South Korea today, so it really ended in a stalemate. But because of it, it kind of created a demilitarized zone in the middle on that 38th peninsula. So I mean, no one knows what North Korea is like. You can't just go over the line and expect to live. So it's very guarded, very heavily guarded. And yeah, we never had victory. So it may have seemed like a waste, but it avoided any further conflict or any further issues with communism taking over the peninsula. So again, that wraps it up. Hopefully that's a good summary of what this is about. And again, stand for freedom, fight Korea, propaganda. See ya.